Thank you. My name is Adrian Nelson and I am your MC for today. We'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri and the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation and also pay our respects to elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to all Indigenous Australians present today. Welcome to our hybrid meeting, to those online and to those in the room. Thanks today will be given by Peter Hollingworth, followed by the loyal toast presented by President Catherine. So please ensure your glass is charged. Today, Peter will be delivering his reflection from his seat. So over to you, Peter.
Thanks, Joe. Today, we offer thanks for gathering here in anticipation of Anzac Day on Friday. Anzac Day observed April the 25th marks the anniversary of the landing at Gallipoli in 1915. It is a day of honour the courage, the sacrifice, the resilience of Australian and New Zealand Army Corps and their other colleagues who served in that campaign and all the conflicts that lasted ever since. But Anzac Day is more than just a remembrance of history. It is a time to reflect on the values of nation, bravery and service that define our nation. It's a day to recognise not only those who fought, but also those who suffered and were damaged and who continue to serve in the defence forces. As we gather here today, there's a Rotary Club of Melbourne where our first president, Sir John Monash, helped us to remember their sacrifices with gratitude and to ensure their legacy lives on through our commitment to unity, peace and respect. A good fun, good food, good fellowship, and the privilege of serving others through Rotary, we give our thanks. Amen.
Thank you, Peter. A wonderful reflection. Members and guests, if you could please be upstanding where possible. A toast to Australia and Rotary International. Rotary International. Please be seated. We will take a break now until 1:15 while our lunch is served. Members, visitors and guests, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to our 38th Rotary meeting of the year and our 5,075th club meeting in our 104th year of history. Our club is celebrating its 104th anniversary of charter on Monday, the 21st of April. It's wonderful to see you all here today, including those online, so welcome. And thank you again to past President Mary Barry for stepping in for me last week. Mary is now on a plane to Ireland as we speak. Our guest today is His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Elias Munshya, High Commissioner of Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific Republic of Zambia, the Republic of Zambia. The High Commissioner will be speaking on Australia, Africa and International Chamber Dialogue, Unlocking Global Opportunities with Zambia, and will be more formally introduced by our Chair of the Day, Stephen Rando, later in the program. In the meantime, would you please acknowledge and make Dr. Elias Munshya welcome. As a club guest and hosted by Branko Panic for Rotary, the Rotary Foundation Committee, we have Ashley Chandler here today. Ashley is the club-sponsored Rotary Global Scholar being put forward as part of our District 9800 nomination. So please join me in welcoming Ashley. Now, we have a number of visitors and guests. So as I read out your names, if you could please stand. And then we'll do one round of applause when we've got everyone through. So guests of Stephen Rando with Africa Australian Interests, we have Fred Alale, the Chairman of African Music Festival, and from the Australian African Chamber of Commerce, James Scuduri, Duncan Harris, Bill Cole, Minty Tafis, and Linton Tazari. We also have Stephen Todd, guest of Debbie and Boo, Robert Grove, Frank Opre, Rebecca Kamuza, and Professor Lee. Rotarians visiting, we have David Fernie from Pakenham and Margaret Brett, the president of Rotary Club of Yarraville. So welcome to all of you. Thank you. And it's with great pleasure that we welcome back today to our club, Dr. Peter Hollingworth, who delivered our reflection today. Peter is accompanied by Julie Gleeson from his office, and Peter turned 90 earlier this month. I hope my card did arrive to you, Peter. If not, Australia Post does have it, and it'll get there soon. And Peter's made a great effort in joining us for lunch today. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about Peter, and then we're going to inflict our singing on him for happy birthday. But Peter was born 90 years ago in Adelaide and grew up in Melbourne and attended Scotch College. At 18, during national service, he found his calling in the church. He went to University of Melbourne and became then a deacon and priest in charge at St Mary's, North Melbourne. Peter's dedicated 25 years to the Brotherhood of St Lawrence, rising to executive director and becoming one of Australia's leading voices for social justice. His church leadership continued as canon of St Paul's Cathedral, bishop in the inner city, and eventually Archbishop of Brisbane, where he championed the ordination of women and fought for the disadvantaged. Peter was named Australian of the Year in 1992 and used that platform to advocate for youth and Indigenous Australians. And in 2001, he was appointed Governor-General of Australia. A Rotary Melbourne member for 28 years, Peter was instrumental in the PACE initiative, a collaboration between Rotary, the Brotherhood, and the state government. He's been a dedicated contributor to many of our committees, facilitated numerous introductions, and supported the recognition of youth. For over 60 years, Peter, you've been a tireless and outspoken campaigner and advocate for Indigenous Australians, the homeless, the unemployed, refugees, and the poor in our community. Way back in 1997, you were named Australian National Living Treasure. We certainly treasure you as a member of our club. Your knowledge and inspiration has been vital in our club's efforts to help those less fortunate than ourselves. Peter, your fearless advocacy for social justice was recognised in 1989 by the Rotary Club of Carlton. Darn it, they got there first, when he was awarded a Paul Harris Fellow. But it was with our pleasure to recognise his lifelong contribution in 2014 with a Paul Harris Fellow Sapphire. So please join me in inflicting our singing on Peter for happy birthday for his 90th birthday.
It's been a great pleasure. Well, not only in 2001, first time around, that's 6 years before great time there. There are a few of us still there. The nominator I had, even though it was still a strictly good relation. In fact, really prepared to accept me the good signs from the spirit, of course. So, look, I value my privilege is going to feel much as I can. I'm going to do the best I can keep on going if I can keep my body straight. So, otherwise, thank you very much. I'll do the best I can, the Rotarians. Thank you, everybody.
Very well said, Peter. Okay, just a reminder that this Sunday, get out your running shoes or come along to volunteer for Run the Tan. That event is on Sunday. Stephen Rando is the organiser, and it's running for mental health, which is a wonderful cause. I'll also just remind that we've got the Arts Committee Immigration Museum event as well. So it's a Rotary packed weekend, this one. So best of luck to all those taking part, and hopefully with Run the 10, set a few personal bests. I'll now hand over to our chair of the day, Stephen Rando, who will take over the podium.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and it is a distinct pleasure to welcome you all here on a very special luncheon today. I guess thank you all again for taking the time to be with us today. It's always special, but it's always heartening to see both familiar faces, new connections, and gathering today to be united by spirit of fellowship, curiosity, and shared purpose. Today's gathering holds a particular significance, and we are honoured to welcome an extraordinary individual whose life and work stands as a beacon of intellect, integrity, and service. His Excellency, Zambia's High Commission to Australia, New Zealand, and Ambassador to the South Pacific, only one in Australia, Dr. Munshya's journey from the mining town in Angola in Zambia's Copperbelt province to the forefront of international diplomacy. It's inspiring as his academic path is unparalleled. The ambassador holds 8 earned degrees spanning law, counselling, psychology, business administration, and public political theology. Included into those 8 is his PhD, examining the intersection of church, state in Zambia, has not only contributed to the academic discourse, but also sparked essential dialogue on governance, faith, and civic landscape. The Commissioner will talk more about Zambia and how unique it is in its continents. One of the stability of democracy, its amazing waterfall, and more importantly, its hard-earned minerals. Before stepping into his diplomatic role, Dr. Munshya has dedicated himself to advocacy and service, one that we know all about in this club. Both in Zambia and in Canada, a distinguished lawyer, a preacher, has become a powerful voice for the vulnerable, particularly in civil, refugee, and human rights law. Appearing before some of Canada's highest legal institutions, called in the Alberta Bar in 2016, he quickly established a reputation not only for legal acumen, but also for his unwavering compassion and commitment to justice. Appointed in June 2020 as High Commissioner and Ambassador, Dr. Munshya has worked diligently to strengthen Zambia's diplomatic trade and innovation ties with its region. As from our friends from the Australian African Chamber of Commerce will testament, his leadership spans key sectors, including agriculture, mining, technology, and more importantly, tourism to Zambia. And recently, in our recent trip to Samoa, I've had the honour to be with the High Commissioner in his views towards shared opportunity and mutual progression. What sets Dr. Munshya apart? Well, his bold vision, which we've seen fun time and time again, and you will all see him today. As he challenges outdated pilgrimage and brings a pragmatic, future-oriented lens to Africa's development narrative, it's grounding to see the possibilities and purpose, which he'll showcase today to all of you. We are truly privileged to host him today. His presence here is not only a reflection on the deepening bonds between the nations, but a powerful reminder for all of us here today on the global impact that one individual can have through education, empathy, and enterprise. With this shared meal, please put your hands together for His Excellency, who will carry towards stories here today.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for that very generous introduction. But before I begin, I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today. I pay my respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. And I also extend this respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Island peoples here today. A week, or in fact a day, is a long time in international affairs. And this week we have all received the news of the passing of His Holiness, Pope Francis, and our best wishes are with the Catholic Church and the Holy See during this time, and to many Catholics around the world. Zambia itself is home to millions of Catholics. Distinguished members of the Rotary Club, ladies and gentlemen, it is both an honor and a privilege to address you today and to share Zambia's vision for a more dynamic engagement with Australia and New Zealand, and indeed the Pacific Island nations. This relationship is deeply rooted in diplomacy, strengthening trade, and enriching people-to-people partnerships. I extend my sincere gratitude to the Rotary Club of Melbourne, knowing very well that the Rotary Club has presence in Zambia and has been helping alleviate some of the most difficult situations our people find themselves in. Zambia is a developing nation. And so at a time when philanthropy and goodwill is being questioned around the world, it is good to know that clubs such as the Rotary Club remain resolute in trying to lessen the burden for our people. And so the Rotary clubs in Livingstone, in Ndola, in Chingola, in Solwezi, and all around Zambia have been at the forefront in helping out with water, with helping school children with education, with health. And for that, we are profoundly grateful. And so coming and being part of this gathering here presents me an opportunity to say thank you. Sometimes when you are at a lunch such as this one, sometimes it's very difficult to know, is our help really reaching the people around the world? I'm here to testify that yes, it really does. And we are very grateful to the work of the Rotary Club, specifically of this Rotary Club here in Melbourne, but also Rotary clubs around the world. Thank you very much. I would also want to recognize President Catherine Baxter for having extended this invitation, and to Stephen Randall for having organized this. I can see that there are several in this room that I have met and we've had interactions with regarding the Zambian story. Some of you are already connected with our country, you've been there already, and you have started looking at ways in which you can partner with our nation. And so today, I wish to continue that conversation about our country. Zambia is a landlocked country. It's strategically positioned at the heart of Southern Africa. Now, this proposition is very controversial because there are so many of African countries that describe themselves to be at the center of Africa. But Zambia is the only one which is truly at the center. We are a member of the Southern Africa Development Community, SADC. We are a member of the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA. And we are also a signatory and part of the African Continental Free Trade Area. As such, Zambia offers investors access to a regional market exceeding 500 million people. And when we take our census tomorrow, it could be 1 billion. Under the leadership of our president, who was elected in 2021, President Hakainde Hichilema, our government has prioritized economic diplomacy as a cornerstone for job creation, for growth, and for sustainable development. The reason why we need to look at economic diplomacy as a country is because we are asking ourselves the question, if we are going to have diplomatic representation in Australia, New Zealand, and around the world, how would that be of benefit to our people? Because at the end of the day, democracy is meaningless on empty stomachs. And we have realized that as Africans, that we are not just going to pay lip service to democratic values, but we are also going to huddle together and think about ways in which democracy now translates to actual benefits for our people. And that is why the Zambian story should be very exciting to all of you here today. We realize that Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific Island nations, particularly Australia in this regard, with their advanced economy and strength in agriculture, mining, energy, education, and technology, you are natural partners to Zambia's development. We know that we've had a very long history of diplomatic engagement between Zambia and Australia. As a matter of fact, we were present here from about the early 1970s to 1990-91, when we left briefly. But we came back in 2016 because we realized the importance that Australia has, at least at the political level. But beyond the political level, we can see that there is a lot of ways in which we can engage at the economic level. And that is why Zambia is back here in Australia, and we've been back since 2016. Our mission in Canberra is dedicated to bridging the gap between Zambia and this region. Over the past year, we have focused on several areas. Here are some of them. We have spoken about trade and investment in Zambia, the fact that Zambia is open for business. We have spoken about education and skills transfer, trying to leverage relationships between Australian universities with their Zambian counterparts. We've also looked at green energy collaboration, and that is why some of the delegates here today have already started some of the partnerships with, or are exploring those partnerships in Zambia. We've also looked at diaspora engagement. The reason being that some of the Africans in general, and Zambians in particular, that are here in Australia, we are encouraging them to not only be positive citizens of this country, but also positive role models to the future Africans that are here in Australia. And so for us as a mission, diaspora engagement is a priority. And in one of the diaspora engagement opportunities, I met my friend Fred, and we see that the diaspora engagement with people like Fred and several other people from Africa, it becomes very, very important that we encourage such engagements among the diaspora. Nevertheless, for our meeting here today, I would like to point out a few emerging opportunities. Now, imagine Zambia, a country right in the middle of Southern Africa, surrounded by 8 neighbors, peaceful. Sometimes when I am interacting with some of our friends here in Australia, they ask me about Zambia. Where is Zambia? Where do you come from? I come from Zambia. And where is that? It means then that there is very little literacy about Zambia. And I tried to find out the reason why there seems to be not much information about Zambia here in Australia. And I figured it out. It's because Zambia has been so peaceful that it has not made any headlines. And so the very fact, I tell others, the very fact that you've never heard about Zambia is a testament of the peace and the joy that is characteristic of this African nation. Zambia is right in the middle of Southern Africa, with 8 neighbors, has been peaceful. We have had different ruling parties from independence. We have hosted refugees from around Africa. We have been involved with promoting peace around our neighbors. And we are within 1 hour to 2 hours flights into other African countries within Southern Africa, be it Johannesburg, Kinshasa, Lubumbashi, Lilongwe, or Harare. And so we are right at the center. Not only that, we are a country of 20 million people. 20 million people, much of which are quite young. But once we add our neighbors together, we can easily exceed 500 million people, as I mentioned earlier. We've got lots of opportunities right now, and I would like to highlight some of them. The first one is investment opportunities in agriculture. Zambia is, out of the entire landmass in Zambia, we're about 750,000 square kilometers. Out of that, we have only managed to clear 10% for agricultural purposes. Now, out of that 10%, only about 1% is actually being cultivated at the moment. Now, we know that the issue with agriculture is not just about clearing more land. It's about raising the productivity of the land that we have already cleared. And so this is an invitation to those that are involved in agriculture to come over and help us, partner with us in order to grow productivity, because that is the key to our sustainability. Now, when you produce in Zambia, you are not only producing for 20 million of us, you are also producing for our neighbors. And our neighbors are hungry neighbors, just like we are a hungry nation. And so that is one of the reasons why Zambia is a good opportunity for agriculture. Apart from agriculture, there is also opportunities in the tourism sector. Now, Zambia is home to one of the seven wonders of the world. It's known as the Victoria Falls, and it is completely and wholly in Zambia, and it is totally owned by Zambia. Of course, our neighbor to the south claims some ownership, and that debate will never be settled, not at least in this lifetime. Nevertheless, it is a beautiful resource that we share with our Zimbabwean colleagues. And so we invite you to come and exploit, but also look at opportunities of investment. When you come to the Victoria Falls, you are not only coming to Zambia, you're also coming to Zimbabwe. And a few kilometers from the Victoria Falls, you're also coming to Botswana and Namibia, because it is one resource that we share as several countries. Now, beyond the Victoria Falls, there is also other falls in the north. They are also ready for investment. You could look at establishing a camp, a safari camp, a lodge. You could look at engaging in ecotourism and sustainable practices. Those are the opportunities that are ready in as far as tourism is concerned. There are literally falls where you are able to go and invest right now and build a lodge and then direct traffic from Australia to those lodges. Those investment opportunities are there. Apart from that, there is mining. We have a vision of raising our copper production from the current 800,000 metric tons to about 3 million metric tons in about 10 years. It's a very ambitious project, but we are looking at our partnerships with Australian firms, with Australian mid-sector companies as well, to transfer some technology in order for us to mine in Zambia, but do so in a responsible fashion. That is what it is regarding mining. Some of Australian investors already are present in Zambian mining. As a matter of fact, one of the newer mines that have been operational between 5 to 10 years ago were started by Australian investors. And even to date, we have several junior miners that are doing exploration in Zambia. But beyond the greenfield investments, we also have several brownfield investments, and we are ready for partnerships in that way. Now, the issue now is must go beyond just mining. We are looking at mineral beneficiation as well. This means that once we mine our copper, we want to add value to it and export cables, export batteries, and export other products that are coming out of copper. But it's not just copper as well. We have several other minerals, and we are looking for partners in this area. Now, apart from agriculture, mining, and tourism, there is also energy opportunities. We've got the Kariba Dam, which was built many years ago by the Federation during the time when Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Malawi were in a federation. And it's known as the Kariba Dam. Now, the Kariba Dam is dependent on good rainfall because it's a hydro project. It's been a main source of electricity for Zambia and Zimbabwe. With climate change, it means then that in the south, we are getting a lot of challenges in terms of water. But there is a lot of water up north, and we are encouraging investments in a hydroelectricity generation in the north part of Zambia, where there is plenty of water and plenty of waterfalls. So you can just pick one of the waterfalls, do your feasibility study, and you can invest in power generation. But we are also encouraging investments in solar, and some of our delegates here are already exploring intersection of solar as well as agricultural investments. There is also opportunities in wind and other sustainable energy investments. We are also looking at manufacturing. Again, once you manufacture a product in Zambia, you are able to market it across Southern Africa and even COMESA and the Africa Free Trade Area around. And so those are huge, huge opportunities that are there. And so Zambia is ready to work hand in hand with both the public and private sector institutions in Australia and New Zealand. We encourage businesses to take advantage of incentives that the Zambia Development Agency is offering. These incentives, of course, include very good tax regime. Now, when we say a very good tax regime, we are saying it's very clear right from the start how you're going to be taxed. And as a relatively new government, we have taken on the political risk ourselves. Because what we are explaining to our people is that we can't tax the 800,000 metric tons of copper production. We can't tax our way to prosperity at the current levels of production. In order for us to benefit greatly from our mineral resources, we need to expand production, and that expansion must be in a way that is much more sustainable. And that's why Australian companies are key, because the competition to Australia is quite difficult in terms of commitment to sustainable mining. And so I'm pleased to formally announce that the Zambia Development Agency is hosting an inaugural Invest Zambia conference in Lusaka from the 16th to the 18th of July 2025. And we are inviting you to consider coming on board so that we can take this delegation to Zambia to go and explore these opportunities. His Excellency the President will be the guest of honor, and the conference will include ministerial level panel discussions, sector-specific networking, business-to-business forums, and project exhibitions and investment showcases, some of the projects that are ready to go immediately. And so I will personally lead this delegation in July, and I'll invite you to be part of it. In the 2.5 years that I've been in Canberra, we've already had 2 delegations into Zambia, and this is going to be a 3rd delegation. I would also encourage those that are interested in Zambia to join the Australia-Zambia Business Council, which is a private sector-led chamber of commerce that looks at linking businesses in Australia as well as Zambia. I'm also aware, and we have been working with the Australia-Africa Chamber of Commerce here with Mr. Duncan Harris, and the great job that I've been doing in trying to bridge the gap between Africa and Zambia. And we are very, very grateful for the efforts that have been done by the Australia-Africa Chamber of Commerce. We are therefore calling for partners. We are looking at it in this way. Zambia is not just a case for philanthropy. Zambia is an opportunity for collaboration, and collaboration in a very frank manner where we discuss how investors benefit, but also how our people are not left behind. Coming up with programs that are win-win, as the Zambians win as well as the investor wins. We are aware that for people to come into Zambia to invest, it's because they love our country, quite right, but it is also because you are trying to either divest your production, divest the markets, or you are trying to see ways in which you can make some money. We understand that very well. But what we want to do is to discuss so that as you are winning as an investor, there is also a win-win situation for the local population. As Zambia continues to diversify in economy and strengthen global partnerships, we look forward to welcoming new collaborators. Now, knowing that the Rotary Club has been very involved in Zambia already from the philanthropic perspective, you have invested quite a lot in Zambia, and we are very grateful for that. We are also aware that there are several other foundations around here that have been helping out in Zambia. And for that, we are very grateful. Zambia is open for business. Let's unlock global opportunities together. Let's unlock the Zambian story together. Thank you very much.
Just keep with the High Commissioner. Any questions for His Excellency in his address today on Zambia? I'm sure looking forward to the delegation, Your Excellency, to see the falls and the population in Africa. If you're not aware, 27 trillion are in minerals of the nation, and Africa will surpass population in India to 1.7 billion by 2030. So Africa is certainly taking its lead within the global economy.
Your Excellency, tell us a little bit about the legal system. What would be confronted if you do business?
Thank you. Zambia belongs to the Commonwealth style of law. And we got independence in 1964 from, so very similar colonial history as Australia. We got our independence in 1964. And our system, first of all, before I comment specifically on the legal system, let me comment a little bit on the political system. It's the Westminster British system, basically, of course, with an executive president, though, who is directly elected. Our legal system is based on the English common law system. And we have been part of the common law system since independence. The other thing is, with our government at the moment, we are committed to the rule of law, because we know that in order for you to come and invest in our country, you are looking at stability, and that's exactly what we offer. Before we came into office in 2021, there were several disputes around mining. And what the president did was he went to all the companies that were in dispute, and we sat together in order to resolve those differences, because we know that business must not be done in a court of law. Business or mining must be done on the mines. And so our commitment to the rule of law meant we went back and sat down with those companies we were in dispute with in order to resolve those issues. And you can read up and find in your own time how we have resolved those issues, and the major mining assets at the moment are back in production. And so you are welcome. Our legal system works very, very well. Registering a company takes at the most a week, assuming that you've got everything in order. Our banking system is international standard. We have got Standard Chartered, we've got ABSA, which is a South African company, and we've got international companies in Zambia. And so from that perspective, we are one of the most stable, both legal systems, banking system, as well as political system.
For your presentation. My name is Rebecca Nalanga. I come from Department of Anthropology and Development. My cultural background is in London, and immediately also the center of Africa. You mentioned economic diplomacy as a critical aspect to expanding a mutually beneficial engagement between Africa and Australia. Melbourne and many other major cities here in Australia struggle to assimilate young Africans successfully. And I wonder if there are any recommendations on how young African Australians can be invited into this conversation as strategic partners in the economic development between Australia and Africa.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you very much. The African High Commissions, and I think Mr. Harris has worked over the years with us in Canberra. We are now about 15 of us, and the recent mission is Angola. And so there is a lot of attention from Africa into Australia. I'll not go into whether there is enough attention from Australia into Africa, from your own governments, because that is pretty much very intimate issue as far as Australians are concerned. But what we are trying to encourage, the 15 of us, is to see that African associations, diaspora associations here in Australia, we encourage them. Because sometimes what we cannot do as nations, you as citizens, African citizens, can do very, very easily here in Australia, which is trying as much as possible to be diverse and ensure that it's trying to encourage these efforts. That's why organizations such as Mr. Fred Alales, as well as our own association here, the Zambian association in Victoria, as well as Ugandan or Kenyan associations, are very critical to that. And so we encourage Africans here, be members of these associations, become contributors as well, not only when you are in trouble, but also become one of the people that are offering solutions. Mentor a young person and be available to help out. That is our encouragement to Africans here. Now, we know that some of our citizens, they come here in Australia and they don't want to have anything to do with us, anything to do with Africa. I think that's a huge mistake. The reason being that if you are an immigrant, you come from Africa, you come into Australia, no matter how much you do not like Africa, some of your offsprings, believe me, are going to want to go back and see where you came from. They want to go there and enjoy your culture, speak your language, and claim to be an African. So you, by isolating yourself from Africa, you are not isolating your children or your grandchildren. They will still want to be part of Zambia or Uganda or Nigeria or Kenya. They still want to be part of that. And so connection with African associations here.
Thank you, Your Excellency. A very excellent thing to update us on Zambia. In Rotary, we have a big project in Central Africa to combat malaria. And I think it includes Zambia. And I just wondered if you could update us on the situation of malaria in your country.
Thank you very much. Perhaps one of the greatest miracles that have been done in my country, as far as health care is concerned, I would say there are two. First of all, it's HIV/AIDS, but the big thing has been malaria. And so I would like to thank you very much to your club here for your involvement in eradicating malaria. From my own experience, as a child, growing up in several parts of Zambia, we used to get malaria very, very frequently. And it was very serious. We lost a lot of people to malaria. It was a huge issue. Not that we've eradicated it completely, but efforts have borne fruit, a lot of fruit. And I don't have statistics here, but I would like to assure you that there's been a huge, huge difference. Companies have also invested a lot in eradicating it. I grew up in Shingola on the Copper Belt province, and some of the investors in our copper there made it part of their social responsibility to spray our homes, and that has led to a huge difference. My home village, our ancestral homeland, is in Wapula province in Milenge. Our rural areas are still struggling with malaria, but I know that once we scale up the efforts that have been done in urban areas, the rural areas are also going to receive that benefit. And so malaria has reduced quite significantly. And if it's the figures, I should be able to circulate those figures through President Baxter so that you can have a look. But please, thank you very much for your efforts with malaria.
Thank you, High Commissioner. Thank you again. A round of applause for the High Commissioner's Excellency. On behalf of myself, again, thank you for your time, your diplomacy, and educating all of us on the power of Zambia. We extend our gift to you and many others in terms of the work and the partnership we'll form post this session. But we've got 200% Australian socks to keep you warm in Canberra when you go for your runs in the morning.
Wonderful.
As well
Thank
as
you.
your delegation to Zambia, we can wear them proud to an evening with your president as well and many other delegates. So
All right.
a round of applause again for thank you again. Thank you, visitors and guests. Just one more quick celebration, and it'll probably kill me in this, but if you could all put your hands together for Duncan Harris, celebrating 50 years of his wedding anniversary today, and for him to be here today. So congratulations again, Duncan. And thank you again, Professor Lee, for your work on the Chinese and Australian relations as well. And if you want to have a chat with Professor Lee, please do so. Look, thank you also to our magnificent MC, Adrian Nelson, and also his reflections, and happy birthday again, Peter, and our lunch set up again for reception team's efforts. A reminder for next week, the theme is the Botanical Gardens. Please join us here next week at number 35 for lunch. Our guest speaker is Andrew Laidlaw, who is the Botanic Gardens landscape architect. A perfect lunch to bring a gardening friend.